Hello and welcome to this edition of News Today. Without delay, let's have a look at the headlines first. Inclusive digital access part of Article 21, says Supreme Court. Union Cabinet approves caste enumeration in the upcoming census. Courts have limited powers to modify arbitral awards, says Supreme Court. Fusion reactor project ITER reaches major milestone with India's help. Scientists developed a brain-computer interface system for movement of paralyzed persons. Climate change-induced monsoon variability threatens Bay of Bengal's marine life, says study. In a significant move towards strengthening digital inclusivity, the Supreme Court of India has reaffirmed that inclusive and meaningful digital access to e-governance and welfare delivery systems is now part of the fundamental right to life and liberty under Article 21 of the Constitution. This crucial development came in the recent judgment of Amar Jain versus Union of India and others. The court has issued a series of directives aimed at making digital services more accessible to persons with disabilities. Now, let's look at the key highlights of the judgment. To begin with, the Supreme Court has directed a revision of the digital Know Your Customer or KYC norms. This move is intended to enable individuals with facial disfiguration due to acid attacks or those with visual impairments to access essential banking and e-governance services. In line with the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016, the court has issued a total of 20 directions to make the eKYC process accessible to such individuals. Moving ahead, the court invoked the principle of substantive equality, emphasizing that digital transformation in the country must be both inclusive and equitable. Importantly, the right to digital access has been acknowledged as an instinctive component of the right to life and liberty under Article 21. This judgment also underlines the obligations of the state. Under Articles 21, 14, 15 and 38 of the Constitution, which encompass the right to a dignified life, the right to equality, the right against discrimination, and the directive to promote social justice respectively, the state is bound to ensure digital infrastructure reaches all vulnerable and marginalized populations. Speaking of its significance, inclusive digital access ensures people can benefit from essential governmental schemes, helps in reducing the rural-urban divide, supports access to online learning platforms and financial technologies, and plays a key role in integrating marginalized groups into the developmental process. Now, let's connect this with other notable Supreme Court rulings related to the right to internet access. In the Sabu Matthew George versus Union of India case of 2017, the Supreme Court directed to search engines to proactively block advertisements related to prenatal sex determination. However, it made it clear that this does not curtail the right to access information and freedom of expression. Similarly, in the 2020 judgment of Anuradha Bhasan versus Union of India, the Supreme Court declared that accessing the internet for purposes of freedom of speech and expression and the right to carry out trade is protected as a fundamental right under Article 19 Clause 1 Subclause A and Article 19 Clause 1 Subclause G respectively. And with that, we conclude this important update on how the judiciary continues to reinforce digital rights as fundamental rights in India. In a landmark development, the Union Cabinet has given its approval for the inclusion of caste enumeration in the upcoming census. The decision was taken recently by the Cabinet Committee on Political Affairs, making a significant step toward data-driven governance and social justice. To understand the context, let's first look at how census functions in India. Census is a union subject listed under Entry 69 of the Union List in Schedule 7 of the Constitution and governed by Article 246. The process is carried out under the framework of the Census Act 1948, which lays down the plan for conducting the population census and outlines the duties and responsibilities of census officers. Diving deeper into the background, the history of caste enumeration in India dates back to British India between 1881 and 1931, where the British colonial administration conducted comprehensive caste enumeration for administrative purposes. Post-independence, starting from 1951, the Indian government discontinued general caste enumeration, counting only SC or ST communities in an effort to promote national unity. In 1961, a directive from the central government authorized states to conduct their own surveys for identifying other backward classes or OBCs. Later, in 2011, the socio-economic caste census was conducted to collect data on the socio-economic status of various communities. Now, why is the inclusion of caste enumeration in the census so significant? First and foremost, there is a judicial requirement. According to the Supreme Court ruling in Indira Sahni and others versus Union of India in 1992, states must determine the backwardness of any particular class of people only after proper assessment and objective evaluation. The court also emphasized that such conclusions must be periodically reviewed by a permanent body of experts. Moving on to the goal of social justice, caste census data, along with other demographic indicators, can help in preparing a fresh and accurate list of socially and educationally backward classes. Moreover, it opens the door to a more equitable distribution of reservation benefits by making it possible to implement a quota within quota or subcategorization system. And finally, in the area of policy making, caste census data is expected to provide the necessary foundation for formulating more informed and evidence-based policies. These will be aimed at effectively addressing the needs and aspirations of the underprivileged and downtrodden sections of society. With this decision, the government moves a step closer to ensuring that development reaches those who need it the most, backed by robust data and constitutional principles.
In a significant ruling, the Supreme Court has clarified that courts have limited powers when it comes to modifying arbitral awards. The observation was made in the case of Gayatri Balaswamy versus ISG Novasoft Technologies Limited. The Apex Court held that such modifications can be made under Section 34 or Section 37 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996, but only under specific conditions. So what are these conditions? Firstly, the court stated that if the arbitral award is severable, meaning that the invalid part can be separated from the valid portion, then the court can modify it. Secondly, the legal doctrine omni majus continet in se minus, meaning the greater power includes the lesser, was cited. This means if courts can set aside an award, they may also partially do so. Clerical or typographical errors can also be corrected. And interestingly, post-award interest can be modified in certain cases. Importantly, the court said such powers may be exercised under Article 142 of the Constitution to do complete justice, so long as the modification aligns with the principles of the Arbitration Act. Now, what does this mean for the arbitration process? Let's break down the implications of this ruling. Positively, the import of Article 142 offers equity in commercial disputes, giving courts flexibility to ensure fairness. It also eliminates the need to re-arbitrate from scratch, which can significantly reduce time, cost, and procedural delays. But there's a flip side. Negatively, granting greater powers to courts might push businesses to favor overseas arbitration hubs, especially since the 1996 Act does not clearly distinguish between domestic and international arbitration. As a reminder, arbitration in India is a form of alternative dispute resolution or ADR, alongside mediation and conciliation, involving a consensual method of resolving disputes outside of our national judicial system through a private system of adjudication. It's a private, flexible, and time-efficient method of resolving disputes without going to court. India's legal framework is governed by the Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996, which aligns with the United Nations Commission on International Trade Law or UNCITRAL model law. Under Section 34, a court can set aside an award, and Section 37 allows for appeals in specific scenarios. So, while this Supreme Court ruling adds some room for judicial correction, it also underlines a key message. India must strike a careful balance between allowing fairness and preserving confidence in its arbitration ecosystem. Moving on, we'll discuss a major scientific breakthrough that could change how we power our world forever. The fusion reactor project, known as ITER, has just reached a major milestone. Scientists have successfully completed the main magnet system for the ITER nuclear fusion project. This powerful system will drive the core of the ITER's tokamak reactor, bringing us one step closer to unlocking fusion energy. Now, here's something that makes us proud. India played a key role in this success. We helped build some of the most critical infrastructure, including the massive cryostat cooling systems and essential heating technologies. But what exactly is a tokamak reactor? The tokamak is an experimental machine designed to harness the power of nuclear fusion, that is, fusing two light atomic nuclei into a single heavier one, releasing massive amounts of energy in the process. To visualize this, fusion typically combines tritium and deuterium, both isotopes of hydrogen. When these two nuclei fuse, they form a helium nucleus and release a neutron along with a tremendous amount of energy. This is the same kind of reaction that powers our sun and stars. It operates on a pulsed superconducting electromagnet system. Interestingly, this design was first developed by Soviet researchers in the late 1960s, and since then, it has been adopted worldwide as the most promising setup for magnetic fusion. And then we say, ITER's tokamak is huge. We mean it. It's set to become the world's largest tokamak, twice the size of the largest current machine, JT60SA in Japan, with 6 times the plasma chamber volume. So, what is ITER exactly? ITER stands for International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor, a global collaboration involving over 30 countries. It's based in southern France and includes members like China, the European Union through Euratom, India, Japan, Korea, Russia, and the United States. The goal? Well, to prove that fusion, the same energy source that powers the sun and stars, can be a safe, abundant, and carbon-free energy option for our planet. As for contributions, the European Union, being the host, contributes 45%, while the rest of the members contribute 9% each. And with this recent milestone, we are inching closer to seeing fusion power not just as a dream, but a possibility. In a significant breakthrough in assistive technology, scientists have developed a brain-computer interface system that enables paralyzed individuals to perform movements using only their thoughts. The system allows a paralyzed person to imagine the movement they wish to execute, while sensors capture their brain activity. This data is used to train an AI system, which then actuates a robotic arm to perform the desired action. Now, let us understand what a brain-computer interface, or BCI, is. A brain-computer interface is a computer-based system that acquires brain signals generated by the central nervous system, analyzes them, and translates them into commands. These commands are subsequently relayed to an output device to carry out a specific task. It is important to note that a BCI is neither a voice-activated nor muscle-activated communication system. Additionally, it is not designed to read or decode thoughts. The functioning of a BCI system involves 4 core components. First is signal acquisition. Here, brain activity is recorded using external electrodes placed on the scalp. These signals are then digitized and transmitted to a computer. This is followed by feature extraction, the process of analyzing the brain signals to identify relevant characteristics that reflect the person's intent, while filtering out irrelevant or extraneous data. These features are then passed through a feature translation algorithm, which converts them into commands suitable for operating an output device. Finally, we have the device output. These outputs may include cursor control, letter selection, or, as seen in the latest development, robotic arm operation. Moving on to its key applications. BCI has a wide range of use cases in the area of communication and control. It offers an alternative communication channel for individuals with disabilities. In medical applications, BCI assists in prevention strategies such as reducing smoking or managing motion sickness. It is also employed in the detection and diagnosis of brain and sleep disorders and plays a vital role in rehabilitation and functional restoration. In security and authentication, BCI uses unique brainwave signatures for identity verification, offering a more secure alternative to passwords and traditional biometrics. And in the field of education and training, BCI systems are used to assess the clarity of understanding, enabling more personalized and effective learning experiences. In conclusion, brain-computer interfaces mark a transformative step in human-computer interaction, particularly in restoring independence and functionality to those affected by severe physical limitations.
A concerning new study has revealed that climate change-induced monsoon variability is posing a serious threat to marine life in the Bay of Bengal. The research, which focuses on changes over centuries to millennia timescales, has reported a staggering 50% drop in food availability for marine life due to extreme monsoon events. Now, let's take a closer look at the impact of climate change on the marine ecosystem. To begin with, one of the most critical consequences is the reduction in plankton growth. Extreme monsoon conditions hinder the vertical movement of nutrient-rich waters from the deep ocean to the surface, where plankton thrives. It's important to know that plankton, comprising phytoplankton, which are tiny plants, and zooplankton, weak-swimming animals, forms the very foundation of the marine food chain. These organisms produce their own food and release oxygen as a byproduct, making their role indispensable. Next, climate change is contributing to a loss of marine biodiversity. The reduction in the diversity of marine species, including key fisheries, poses a serious threat to global food security. In addition, climate change is impacting the nutrient supply in the oceans. A potential reduction in wind intensity can disrupt the mixing of different water layers, further disturbing the marine environment. And that's not all. Ocean acidification, yet another effect of climate change, is leading to a drop in ocean pH levels. This, in turn, reduces the availability of calcium carbonate, a critical compound that organisms like corals rely on to maintain their structural integrity. Now, let's understand why marine ecosystems are so significant. Firstly, they play a vital role in climate regulation. Oceans absorb around 25% of all carbon emissions. Secondly, they contribute to food security, with seafood serving as a primary source of protein for millions around the world. Thirdly, they provide livelihoods. The blue economy, which involves the sustainable use of marine resources, supports countless jobs and communities. And finally, marine ecosystems contribute to economic growth through avenues like marine resource utilization and tourism. In light of these challenges, several initiatives have been launched to safeguard marine ecosystems. On the global front, the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS, offers a legal framework for the conservation and sustainable use of marine resources. Additionally, the International Convention for the Prevention of Pollution from Ships, commonly known as MARPOL, aims to reduce the environmental impact of shipping activities. Back home in India, the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 has been extended to include marine wildlife under its protective umbrella. Furthermore, the National Plan for Conservation of Aquatic Ecosystems provides a comprehensive approach to the conservation and management of aquatic environments. Clearly, the findings of this study serve as a timely reminder of the urgent need for continued and coordinated action to protect our oceans and the life they sustain.
In today's Personality in News, we will talk about Adi Shankaracharya. 4 Panchola idols of Adi Shankaracharya are said to be installed at Kedarnath, Badrinath and Uttarmanya Jyotirmath in Uttarakhand. Born in Kaladi, Kerala, Adi Shankaracharya is known for introducing the concept of Advait or non-dualism, which emphasizes that Brahman, the ultimate formless reality, and the individual soul, Atman, are one and the same. He believed that the duality perceived in the world is merely an illusion or maya, and that liberation or moksha comes from realizing this oneness. While rooted in a deeply philosophical understanding, his teachings also acknowledged the importance of bhakti or devotion in the path of spiritual practice. To preserve and spread this philosophy, he established 4 mutt in the 4 corners of India: Sringeri in the south, Dwarka in the west, Puri in the east, and Badrinath in the north. His literary contributions include profound works such as Bhaj Govindam, Atmashatkam, Saundarya Lahari, and the Brahma Sutra Bhashya, which continue to guide spiritual thought across the world.
As we conclude today's main news, let's have a look at some quick updates. Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, chaired by PM, approved the Fair and Remunerative Price or FRP of sugarcane for sugar season 2024-25. FRP is price declared by the central government at which mills are bound to procure sugarcane from farmers. India has opposed the inclusion of a hazardous insecticide, chlorpyrifos, listed as POP for global phase-out in 2021 under the Stockholm Convention, which was adopted in 2001 and enforced in 2004, with the objective to protect human health and environment from POPs. A groundbreaking project to suck carbon out of the sea has started operating on England's south coast. Project Secure is funded by the UK government. It is a small-scale pilot project. A recent study found that a daily exposure to phthalates, which is commonly used in making household plastic items, is linked to 3.5 lakh or 13% deaths in the world due to heart disease. Orthophthalates, often referred to as phthalates, are chemicals used in plastic products. Latest research suggests that the fundamental nature of the universe could be determined by finding out how clumpy it is using S8. S8 is a measure of inhomogeneity of the universe. Researchers pinpoint the genes responsible for the final 3 P traits studied by the biologist Gregor Johann Mendel. The aim is to understand and identify how the traits were inherited by future generations of the pea plants. UK-based Encephalitis International launched a global campaign to promote the importance of vaccination against the rising threat of encephalitis and other vaccine-preventable diseases. A rare inscription dating back to the time of Vikramaditya I of the Badami Chalukya dynasty has been unearthed at Madapura Lake. Vikramaditya I ascended the throne after the defeat of his father Pulakeshin II at the hands of the Pallava king Narasimhavarman I. Before we sign off, let's challenge your understanding in today's installment of Test Your Learning. Thank you for joining us. We hope you found this episode of News Today engaging. For the solutions to the quiz and to access the PDF version of News Today, remember to visit the provided links in the description.